I think it's okay to open up your relationship so long as you're both on the same page and you have set the boundaries for what that looks like. I mean, on one hand, you can say, I miss sex, I miss the physical intimacy. But what it looks like that you're actually missing is intimacy. That is what you're missing.
My partner and I have been together for 15 years. We have a 7-year-old child who we love. Thank God. I love the extra tidbit of information. But our sex life is 0. We talked a few months ago about opening our relationship and we both agreed, but we didn't set many rules. A few weeks later, I slept with an old friend. My partner was unhappy to say the least. Since then, he convinced me to let him keep sleeping around, but I can only see people that I don't know. I'm not comfortable to sleep with people that I don't know because sex to me is really intimate and needs a friendship. Do I start sleeping with strangers or just have no sex for the rest of existence?
This is so hard. Also, firstly, we're not going to yuck anyone's yum for opening up your relationship because I know a lot of people's initial reaction would be like, this is never going to work out. But there are lots of people who live with very different relationship dynamics who make it work. Firstly, I think it is quite interesting when she says, we have a 7-year-old who we love. The reason why I think that actually is a valid point is that potentially they are staying together and they are prioritizing the commitment they're making to each other and the friendship that they have and the companionship they have because they see that as the greater good for their kid. And then they're like, well, we love each other, but we're going to get our sex elsewhere, knowing that sex is like literally a 0 in their relationship. I think it's okay to open up your relationship so long as you're both on the same page and you have set the boundaries for what that looks like. I mean, obviously it's something that's dynamic. Rules can change, but you both have to be on board with what those rules are. And you both have to be in agreement that it works for both of you. And sex for a guy and sex for a girl, typically in heterosexual relationships, is quite different. I think a lot of women need intimacy. They also need safety is another thing. Like you just going out and having sex with completely random men who you have absolutely no connection with, no background with, haven't spent time to get to know, could be a dangerous or intimidating situation for you. Your husband doesn't need to worry about that because men never need to worry about that. So I would definitely have some more open conversations around what this agreement looks like. And I also think that you both need to potentially, because you're saying, oh, he's still sleeping around, but now I have this new rule on me. I think you both need to stop sleeping with other people until you have decided and you can figure out comfortably and unanimously what this looks like for the two of you.
Yeah, I have no issue with an open relationship. I think that's wonderful. I think that's great if it works for you guys. But I do have an issue with your partner setting one boundary for him and one rule for him and one for you.
Yeah,
because
totally.
It suits him when you're not okay with it.
But I'd read this as though he's not sleeping with old friends. Do you know what I mean? I'd read this as though he's sleeping around with random people and then she has that same rule that she has to like choose people that they don't know.
Well, she hasn't said. The other thing that you guys haven't said, so it's hard, is you haven't said why you're not having sex, why your sex life is 0. Because is it because you guys have the ick with each other in that sense, but you still love each other as a friend? Is it because there's just stresses? Is it because no one puts in the effort? We don't know what it is because my initial response would be, let's try and fix that first. Like let's work from the ground up instead of putting the Band-Aid at the top. I'm sure you've tried that, but if you haven't, I would go back to focus on why you're not having sex and is there a way to bring that back into the relationship before you go and put these external sexy Band-Aids on. If you've done that and there is just nothing left, I would then ask yourself why you're staying together.
Yeah.
Is it because you actually can't see your life without each other and you truly do love each other? Or is it you're just staying together for the child? Is that necessarily the best thing for the child? Sometimes it's not. Sometimes two people that are not right in a family staying together isn't the best thing, but it depends on your family dynamics.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I also think it's an interesting one because we are very careful about saying something that like mocks or yucks someone living an alternate lifestyle, right? Like we've had many conversations with people on here who are either polyamorous or they're in open relationships or their relationship dynamic is not the normal monogamous relationship that we are mostly accustomed to. So I want to be really careful because I don't think it necessarily defines the beginning of the end. But if it's not done properly and it's not done in a way where you both feel heard and you both feel respected, it absolutely will be the beginning of the end because like there will be resentment that will build if you both can't navigate this in a way that's respectful and in a way that you both are agreeing to and feel heard. And the problem is now this dynamic doesn't work for you. You've made a decision about opening up your relationship, but now the rules don't work for you and they clearly work for him. And that to me is an environment that's going to breed a lot of resentment, especially if your husband is being satisfied sexually, but you're not able to be. So you just have to make a decision as to whether you sleep with strangers or you are abstinent for the rest of your life. Like that is non-sustainable. I don't
Or you
think.
close the relationship. You just say so to your husband, sorry, it's not working.
Yeah.
Like that, the set of rules and boundaries doesn't work for me. I tried it. Like that is also okay. You can open a relationship and then close it again. Like your rules are fluid. They can change at any time.
Do you think though so like he might see that as a punishment, but it's not a punishment. It is simply that like, well, the set of rules that you have placed on how this open relationship is going to work doesn't work for me. Like I would like to explore an open relationship. You can have sex with strangers. You can have sex with old friends. Like it doesn't matter so long as we have open communication. But you telling me who I can and can't based on the rules that you've set is what doesn't work for me.
What I do want to say is I understand your husband's rules and what works for him. And I say that because I always try to put myself in your guys' situation when you write to us. And if that was me and I was opening my relationship with Ben, and I'm not saying I'm okay now, I'm saying if it was, I would be far more okay with him having a one night stand, and the rule would be that like you don't see that person again and you don't have a connection with them. Way more so than if he was saying, okay, I found this person I have a connection with. They're a great friend. We've known each other a long time. Like we're intimate without being intimate. Then you want to add sex to that? No way. For me, there is no way. My rules would be completely different.
I guess the thing is with that is that it does take it away from just being sex. I mean, on one hand, you can say, I miss sex. I miss the physical intimacy. But what it looks like that you're actually missing is intimacy in general. You're missing the intimacy that co-surrounds sex. You're missing all those additional parts of it because like sex is not just, and we all know this is not fucking rocket science. It's not just getting in a bedroom and, getting down and fucking and then leaving. It is for some people and that can be it. But what other people get from it is all the other stuff that goes with it. It's the cuddling, it's the talking, it's the sharing and feeling connected with another person that creates a different level of intimacy, I guess. And it sounds to me that is what you're missing, more so than just missing the physical, raw, animalistic nature of sex.
It's so complicated, but to round this out, do I start sleeping with strangers or just have no sex for the rest of my life? I don't think they're your only two options, but I do think that you deserve to have sex. You should not live a life of zero sex when you don't want to. If that was fine for you and you're like, I'm asexual, I couldn't care less as long as I have my intimacy, then that's fine. Sex isn't the most important thing until it is. And when it is the most important thing, which it obviously is for you, then yes, you need to figure out a way to include that in your life. But you both need to come to an understanding on why it's important and a way that suits you both.
I mean, I hate to say it because it feels like such an easy end place to get to with this, but I would be going and speaking to a couples therapist because I think you're making really big decisions around what your relationship looks like that are going to impact you forever. Like they are going to impact how this unfolds and whether or not you're able to stay together and whether or not you have resentment for each other. Like your relationship will change now because of the way you're navigating it. It could be really good to get a third party in there to have these discussions with, so that way you have someone who's from neutral territory who is asking the questions and getting you to think a little bit more about your reasons for why you're doing what you're doing. And not just the reasons why you're opening up the relationship, but also just to navigate, okay, what do the rules look like? The one thing that we have received as advice from every single person we've ever spoken to on this podcast who is navigating an open relationship, or even friends who we both have that do have open relationships, is that communication is the most important part. It's way more important than the physical. And in order to successfully navigate an open relationship, you have to communicate so much more than what you do if you're in a closed relationship. There has to be no judgment. There has to be no like animosity around like these conversations because you've made the decision to do this. So you've got to navigate the nitty gritty of what that looks like. And so I think like there's a lot more conversations that you and your husband need to be having.